The courtroom camera captured a moment that would soon explode across the internet. A young man sat in the defendant's chair, slouched back with a casual arrogance of someone who believed the law couldn't touch him. His name was Jason Carter, only 17 years old, but already the mastermind of a $100,000 scam that had left retirees, single parents, and hard-working families scrambling to recover their savings. From the first second, Jason made it clear he wasn't intimidated. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, a faint grin on his face, as if the entire proceeding were nothing more than a school assembly he'd been forced to attend. The cameras, positioned to capture every flicker of expression, zoomed in on that grin. Across the bench sat Judge Judy, legendary for her no-nonsense approach and razor-sharp tongue. She adjusted her glasses and studied the teenager with a cool, unwavering gaze. Years of experience had taught her how to spot a liar before they even opened their mouth. And Jason radiated the kind of cocky defiance she'd spent a career dismantling. Before we dive into this unbelievable case, take a second to let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I love seeing viewers from all over the world. And if you enjoy real stories of justice served, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss more cases where arrogance meets its match. Now sit back, because what happens inside this courtroom will leave you questioning just how far a teenager will go to stay one step ahead of the law. The bailiff called the room to order, and the sound of shuffling feet quieted to a tense hush. Judge Judy began reading the charges, her voice clear and deliberate. Multiple counts of fraudulent misrepresentation, wire fraud, and the unauthorized transfer of funds totaling over $100,000. Each accusation landed like a hammer blow, but Jason didn't flinch. Instead, he tilted his head and smirked, as if the entire proceeding were nothing more than a school assembly he'd been forced to attend. Prosecutors outlined how Jason had promised investors guaranteed returns through a cryptocurrency platform he claimed to have developed himself. His pitch was smooth and persuasive, emails filled with professional graphics, text messages laced with urgency, and a website that appeared legitimate at first glance. Victims ranged from elderly couples hoping to grow their retirement nest eggs to young parents trying to save for a first home. Each had trusted the teenager's confident charm, transferring thousands of dollars into accounts they believed were secure. As the details unfolded, the audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. One woman dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, while a man in a faded work jacket clenched his jaws so tightly the muscles quivered. They were not just spectators, they were Jason's victims, and this was their day of reckoning. Judge Judy listened carefully, occasionally jotting notes with her sharp silver pen. When the prosecution finished, she turned her gaze to the defendant. "Mr. Carter," she said, her voice calm but edged with steel, "you stand accused of deliberately deceiving innocent people out of significant sums of money. How do you plead?" Jason leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "Not guilty," he said smoothly. "This is all a misunderstanding. People invested in a business. Businesses sometimes lose money. That's not a crime." The words were confident, but the smirk that followed betrayed something deeper, a belief that he was the smartest person in the room. Judge Judy arched an eyebrow. "A misunderstanding," she repeated, letting the word hang in the air. "We'll see about that." The first witness, an elderly man named Robert Green, approached the stand. His hands trembled slightly as he raised them to take the oath. Robert explained how Jason had contacted him through a mutual acquaintance, promising a guaranteed double return on a $20,000 investment. "He sounded so professional," Robert said, his voice breaking. "He even said his own grandmother had invested. I thought he was helping people." Jason leaned back, barely suppressing a laugh. Judge Judy noticed immediately. "Mr. Carter," she snapped, "wipe that smile off your face. You will treat this court and these victims with respect." The grin faded, but only slightly. Jason tapped his fingers on the table, the picture of teenage indifference. Next came Susan Miller, a single mother who had invested $5,000, money she'd saved for her daughter's college tuition. Her testimony was steady, but filled with quiet pain. "I believed him," she said. "He told me this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I thought I was giving my daughter a better future." Jason rolled his eyes. A sharp gasp rippled through the audience. Judge Judy's pen clattered onto the bench. "Mr. Carter, if you roll your eyes one more time, I will have you removed from this courtroom. Do you understand me?" Jason shrugged. "Sure, Your Honor." The tension in the room thickened, a pressure you could almost feel in your chest. Each testimony painted the same picture, a smooth-talking teenager who exploited trust for profit. Yet Jason remained unfazed, confident that he could charm or outsmart his way to freedom. But what Jason didn't know, what none of the spectators yet realized, was that Judge Judy had spent the morning reviewing evidence so damning that it would crush the defense in a single stroke. Hidden in a thick folder on her desk were emails, bank records, and text messages that left no room for doubt. And she intended to reveal them in a way that would break Jason's arrogance piece by piece. The audience didn't know it, but they were about to witness a masterclass in courtroom strategy. Judge Judy would not simply deliver a verdict. She would teach a lesson that neither Jason nor anyone watching would ever forget. She leaned back slightly, allowing a small, knowing smile to flicker across her face before disappearing. "Mr. Carter," she said, her voice steady, "you say this was all a business deal gone wrong. I have some documents here that may shed light on exactly how your business operated. Let's take a closer look." Jason's grin wavered for the first time. Cameras zoomed in, capturing the subtle shift as Judge Judy opened the folder with deliberate care. Inside were the first pieces of evidence that would dismantle his defense and reveal the full scale of the scam. And that, though no one knew it yet, was only the beginning of the twist that would silence the courtroom and echo far beyond these walls. The courtroom grew tense as Judge Judy adjusted her glasses and leaned slightly forward, her eyes, sharp and unwavering, locked on the teen. "Let's make something clear," she said, her voice firm but calm. "This isn't a joke. You are facing serious allegations involving over $100,000. If you think laughter will help you here, you're in for a rude awakening." The teen barely blinked. Instead, he smirked, glancing back at a couple of friends who had shown up to support him. One of them gave a half-hearted thumbs up, as if encouraging the arrogance. The judge noticed everything. "Do you understand the charges against you?" she asked. Yeah, he replied, leaning back in his chair. "It's not even that serious. People lose money all the time." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Even the bailiff raised an eyebrow. Judge Judy's eyes narrowed. "Not serious. $100,000 may not matter to you, but it matters to the people you scammed. It matters to the justice system, and it matters to me." The teen shrugged, a crooked grin still on his face. "Okay, but what's the worst that can happen? A fine?" Judge Judy didn't flinch. "That depends on your cooperation and your attitude. Right now, neither is working in your favor." The audience sat silent, hanging on every word. But what they didn't know was that the judge had already prepared a move that would flip the entire hearing on its head. She wasn't going to announce it yet. First, she wanted the teen to reveal more of himself. "Tell me," she continued, "where is the money now?" The teen smirked again. "Wouldn't you like to know?" At that moment, the camera zoomed slightly closer on Judge Judy's face. Her eyes didn't waver, but a faint, knowing smile crept across her lips. Something was coming. Viewers watching later would describe it as the exact second the balance of power shifted, when Judy silently declared that the game was over, even if the teen hadn't realized it yet. The judge turned to the bailiff. "Please retrieve Exhibit C." The bailiff nodded and left the room. A minute later, he returned with a large sealed envelope. Judge Judy opened it slowly, pulling out a thick stack of documents. She placed them neatly on the bench and looked directly at the teen. "Do you recognize these?" she asked, holding up the first page. The teen squinted. "Nope." "These," the judge said, her voice now cutting like a blade, "are bank records. Your bank records. We obtained them legally with a court order." The teen's smile flickered, but only for a moment. He forced a laugh. "So? Doesn't prove anything." The judge didn't blink. "Oh, it proves quite a lot. It shows a series of transactions, all matching the amounts taken from the victims. Each transaction leads to accounts you opened under fake names. Care to explain that?" The teen hesitated. For the first time, he didn't have a ready comeback. His friends in the back exchanged nervous looks. The judge let the silence stretch, letting the weight of her words sink in. "No explanation? That's what I thought. You see, arrogance might feel powerful, but facts don't care about your attitude, and these facts tell a very clear story." Still, the teen tried one last defense. "Maybe someone hacked me. Maybe it's not even my account." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Interesting theory. Let's test it. Bailiff, bring in our next witness." The doors opened and a middle-aged man walked in, an investigator from the bank itself. He carried a folder and wore a calm, professional expression. After being sworn in, he took the stand and began to testify. He explained how the accounts were created, how the IP addresses matched the teen's home, and how security footage from ATMs showed the teen himself withdrawing cash. As the testimony continued, the teen shifted uncomfortably. He crossed his arms, then uncrossed them. The smirk was gone. Judge Judy glanced at him. "Still not serious?" she asked quietly. The teen muttered something under his breath, too soft to hear. The judge tilted her head. "Speak up." "I said, whatever," he replied, his voice cracking ever so slightly. The tension in the room was electric. The audience leaned forward, sensing the tide turning. But Judge Judy wasn't done. She turned to the investigator. "Please describe the most recent withdrawal." The man flipped through his folder. "Last week, Your Honor, $20,000 in cash. Same account, same suspect. Surveillance shows the defendant making the withdrawal personally." The teen's eyes darted toward his friends. One of them looked away. Another pulled out a phone, pretending to check messages. Judge Judy folded her hands. "Interesting. While awaiting trial, you withdrew $20,000 from an account tied to the stolen funds. Do you have a lawyer present today?" The teen shook his head. "Didn't think I needed one." "That," the judge said, "was your first mistake." Then she leaned forward, lowering her voice just enough to make the entire courtroom strain to hear. "Your second mistake was believing you were smarter than the court. You're not. And your third mistake was believing money could hide forever. It can't." A hush fell over the room. Everyone waited for the next move, but instead of revealing her full hand, Judge Judy calmly stacked the documents back into the envelope. She tapped the stack lightly with her fingertips. "This," she said, "is only the beginning. And I promise you, young man, before this day is over, you will learn that the truth always catches up." She then looked toward the camera, her eyes piercing. "Before we continue, I want to hear from you watching at home. If you were in my position, what sentence would you consider fair? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read as many as I can.
and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the moment justice prevails in cases like this one.
The room felt heavier with every passing second. Judge Judy leaned forward, resting her chin on one hand as if she were casually enjoying a private joke. But her eyes never left the teenager. "Tell me again," she said softly, "how exactly did you earn $100,000 at your age?" The boy straightened up and tried to sound confident. I just invested. Crypto stuff, NFTs, online money moves." A ripple of muffled laughter spread through the courtroom audience. Judy didn't smile. "Interesting. And you have records of these money moves?" He hesitated for the first time. "They're on my phone, but I forgot it at home." Judy tilted her head. "That's strange, because this court subpoenaed your banking records, and what we found tells a very different story." The teenager's smirk faltered. His friends shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "Would you like me to read the transactions aloud?" Judy asked, her voice sharpening just enough to slice through the silence. "No, that's okay," he muttered. But Judy wasn't done. She turned to the bailiff. "Bring me Exhibit B." A folder slid across the bench. Judy opened it with deliberate slowness, each page turn echoing through the room. "According to these records, your PayPal account received 32 separate deposits, all from different victims, some as small as $50, others as high as $10,000. Does that sound like investment income to you?" The teenager swallowed hard. "Those were gifts," he said weakly. "Gifts?" Judy raised her eyebrow. 32 strangers gifted you exactly $97,452? Tell me, young man, what holiday inspires that kind of generosity?" A low chuckle rippled through the courtroom. The teen's ears turned crimson. Then Judy delivered the next blow. "Your second mistake," she said calmly, "was thinking you could hide digital transactions. The third mistake was laughing in my courtroom." The teen looked up, startled, "Because when you laughed, you told everyone here that you don't respect the law, your victims, or even your own future. And that, young man, is something I never forget." The audience leaned forward as Judy closed the folder and placed it to her right. "And now," she said, her tone dropping to a dangerous calm, "we move to the part where actions have consequences." Before revealing the next step, Judy glanced at the camera and gave a subtle nod, as if speaking to every viewer at home. "Tell me in the comments," she said smoothly, "do you think this teen deserves jail time, or is a lesson enough? I read every single one. And if you're just joining, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the final verdict. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends." The courtroom buzzed with whispers. The teen sat frozen. And Judge Judy? She hadn't even played her final card. The tension inside the courtroom was so thick it felt like you could hear every breath. Judge Judy sat perfectly still for a long moment, letting the silence punish the teen more than any words could. Finally, she leaned toward the microphone. "Here's what's going to happen," she said, in a voice that carried across the entire room. "You scammed hard-working people out of nearly $100,000. You mocked this court. You think money makes you untouchable. But I'm here to remind you, law and justice don't care how clever you think you are." The teen opened his mouth, but Judy's hand shot up to stop him. "Not another word. You had your chance." She turned to the bailiff. "Call the final witness." The door at the back of the courtroom opened with a loud creak. In walked a woman wearing a plain gray blazer and a look that could freeze fire.
The teen's bravado cracked instantly. "Mom?" he whispered. The audience gasped. Judge Judy's eyes flicked toward the woman. "Ma'am, you may approach." The mother stepped forward holding a thick envelope. "Your Honor, this contains every message, receipt, and confession my son left on our home computer. I couldn't let him keep hurting people. I'm sorry." The teen's face drained of color. You went through my stuff?" he stammered. Judy gave a thin smile. "You went through the evidence, young man. Evidence you were arrogant enough to leave behind." The bailiff took the envelope and handed it to Judy. She opened it slowly, scanning the pages. These documents confirm the full amount stolen and the names of every victim. Because of this, restitution will be immediate. Every cent, every single cent, will be returned. The teen shot to his feet. "You can't do that! That's my money!" Judy's gavel cracked like a gunshot. "Sit. Down." The sound echoed through the chamber. The boy froze. "You don't have money," Judy said, her voice rising like a storm. "You have stolen property, and you will return it today." The audience erupted in applause before the bailiff called for order. Judy continued, her tone slicing through the noise. "You will also perform 300 hours of community service. Not online, not in some cushy office, in person, helping the very people you thought were easy targets." The teen slumped back into his chair, trembling. "But what about jail?" he muttered. Judy leaned forward, her eyes like sharpened steel. "Consider this your only warning. The next scam, the next lie, and you will see the inside of a cell." Then came the twist no one saw coming. Judy tapped the envelope. "Your mother has agreed to match every dollar you return out of her own savings, to double the amount donated to charities supporting fraud victims. Every penny will go to helping the people you tried to exploit." The audience gasped. Even the bailiff raised an eyebrow. The teen turned to his mother, stunned. "Why would you do that?" His mother's eyes glistened, but her voice stayed firm. "Because I refuse to let your choices define this family. Justice isn't just punishment, it's making things right." Judy nodded slowly. "Well said." For a long moment, no one moved. Then Judy raised her gavel. "Case closed." The gavel slammed down like thunder. The teen buried his face in his hands as the bailiff escorted him out. The audience stood in silent awe. And Judge Judy? She simply stacked the papers, calm and unshaken, as if she'd just taken out the trash. Before the credits rolled, Judy turned back to the camera with a rare, almost imperceptible smile. "Tell me," she said softly, "do you believe this young man will change, or is this just the first of many lessons he'll have to learn the hard way?" Leave your thoughts in the comments, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more real justice, real consequences, and real stories that prove no one is above the law. The camera lingered on Judy's face for a final beat, the look of a judge who never loses. Then the screen faded to black.